You counted every calorie, tried every diet, spent hours in the gym, and still something's missing. You want more than just weight loss. You want your energy back. You want your confidence restored. You want a way of living that doesn't feel like punishment. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism, where we cut through the noise, ditch the fads, and give you a real plan to become the healthiest, strongest version of you. Hosted by our team of expert coaches with proven strategies, science-based tips, and real-life encouragement, not just to help you lose fat, but actually create that lifestyle that you love. You've tried everything. Now, let's try what actually works. This is your turning point. Let's go. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism. I am here with Calvin, Megan, and Whitney today. And we want to talk today about some of the most common struggles that we see in clients and how we help to navigate through those struggles. So, we're each going to kind of pick one that we see often. And I'll go ahead and start with the clients that are going through something that is challenging, right? Whether it be the holiday time, a family member type of issue, something at work that is stressing them out, or just life in general. And what happens is they fall off track. They don't reach out to their coach. The coach tries to reach out and help them and find out what is happening. And before you know it, 2 weeks has passed. And now we have someone who is very far gone and now is losing faith in the process because they weren't able to make it through that time. So, how I usually approach it with them is to tell them that the reason they have a coach is not shame. We are not your parents. We are not going to tell you you did something wrong. What we're going to do is to teach you how to move through it, right? It's kind of like when you hurt your leg and you need someone to, like a physical therapist, to help you, to show you how to repair that. So, it's the same type of thing that you're always going to wind up in a situation that life happens, challenges happen, holidays, vacations, all of the things. But having the plan and understanding that it doesn't mean it has to be perfect, but learning how to make it through those times, whether it be, okay, we're going on vacation. Let's come up with a plan beforehand rather than just sending you in there, letting you go bananas, coming back and feeling guilty. Let's just say, okay, this is our plan going in. It may not be perfect, but you have something there to guide you. And then you'll feel that much better and in control and confident in yourself and your abilities when you get back. Same thing with holidays. I know I recently had a client that was working. He's a police officer, he's a dad. He, his parents, one of his parents was sick, so he had to take care of that parent. He was going and going and going, and before I knew it, I hadn't heard from him in 2 weeks and reached out to him saying, "Hey, I'm here. What's going on?" And we spoke. We came up with a plan on the days that he's working. We came up with a plan when he's out and about and he can't get to his food or he forgot his food. We came up with some different options for him, and now for the past week, he's spot on and got right back on track. So, he was just feeling embarrassed. He was feeling ashamed that he fell off. But what I always try to explain to him is there's a reason you fall off. You want to do the thing, but having a little bit of grace and saying, well, why did I fall off? What happened? Okay, that's why it happened. Now let's come up with a plan for next time. So that would be probably my most common struggle that I see with clients. So I'm going to go ahead and let one of you guys pick up.
I'll I'll go next because it kinda encompasses some of that. So, one that I deal with or see a lot, especially recently, has been this where people just they want to be all in, right? They wanna be 100%, but you're just starting or you had that something that happened, right, in your life, or you have stressors that are going on, and this is where this goes right into that, Brooke. It's all or nothing, but if you have to dial back on something and just focus on habits and just progress. So, if you start out and you come to us, we're starting coaching and, you're starting eating 4 pieces of pizza a day. So if I go next week and I only eat 3 pieces of pizza a day, you
Yep.
made progress. So,
Yep.
it might not feel like you're all in, right? And you still may feel like a failure, but, like, you're not failing because you made progress. You're not gonna change things like 100% overnight. It's going to take time, but as long as you're making those small wins, they will add up and they will compound, and they will keep rolling because you're going to feel better. You're going to have like you're just going to feel better about yourself too, not just physically, but emotionally. And that will just keep going. So, don't get caught up on seeing like the big picture and seeing that overall picture and getting stuck there, but focusing on the little wins and the progress along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that a lot, that I think people come in and they're just off to the sprint right away and just wanna get the most because I think in their mind, they've been through it so many times that they're like, "Alright, I just gotta nail it hard in the beginning because 'cause I'm probably just gonna fall off later." They have that mentality going in, and then they when in reality, what they're needing to do is just change patterns in their life, and that doesn't happen overnight, and so they will try to bite off too much in the beginning when what Megan said is just start off small, correct little things and start building and get those small wins, get momentum going. Once you feel that momentum, you're going and you start to see those changes happen, and you'd be surprised how much those little changes can make, in progress, but it's understanding that you need to make a repetitive version of that. You have to do it day after day. So if you take on too much at first, right out of the gate, you're setting yourself up to fail
Yeah.
because nobody can really handle that. Not anyone that has a normal life, So it's just starting small, working your way up. That's how it works for everybody, no matter what level you are. It's all about correcting the things that aren't, or that are in the wrong place right now. So that's probably one of the most common things I think I see is what Megan brought up as well.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like bringing it back to the shame, but like also the reason you hired a coach is like people forget that we are also people. We don't always eat perfect all of the time, like we do most of the time, but we've also learned how to incorporate that into our lives. And they are habits. And people, you hire a coach to have that accountability, but we're not bullies. We're not Jillian Michaels. We're not going to come in and yell at you. Our job is to coach you through those things and to be able to hold you accountable so that you see the patterns and you see the changes that you're able to make and kind of help you make those small changes so that it's not everything at once. Because if that worked, you wouldn't need a coach. You could you could just do it. But that's why you get a coach to help you learn how to build those habits, how to stack those habits, how to change them, because changing the lifestyle and the habits that you've grown accustomed to is really, really hard.
Yeah, because 'cause you've been doing them for so long. It's like you're I think somebody gave me a really cool analogy that it was like you're walking through grass, that tall grass, and the first couple of times, it's, like, really hard that you gotta kinda push through it, but after a while, if you walk that same path, it just creates something with less resistance. Now the grass is all lower, so you can move through it, and it's the same thing. You have been moving through these patterns, and the people that try and just blast their way through it and go all in and do everything, they're not gonna last at that pace. They're not gonna make those habits. You'll lose it for like a week, and then you're gonna wind up falling out because it's too much. It's too challenging to be able to keep up that pace. It's like running the marathon at a sprint pace. Like you just
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah, most people
Yeah.
cannot do that.
And I think
Except for
it's
Whitney.
important.
No, I'm so slow.
It's important to understand that when you do fall off, because it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen to all of us. When you do fall off, how long does it take you to get back on it, or
Yeah.
back to it, because also that's another progress. Like, okay, well, last time I fell off, it should be a month to get back on track. Okay, if something happened again, I'm back on track. If something happened, I fell off. But this time it only took me a week. So that in itself, that's progress too. So it's just recognizing it could come in all different forms, like emotional, physical, I mean, anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's just progression. And it may seem minimal at times, but even just like weightlifting, you know, one little tweak, just a change in tempo and how you're lifting, A lot of people want this big extravagant workout that's going to all of a sudden change everything and they're just going to have muscles pop when sometimes their reps are just a little too fast. Got to slow them down, got to feel the muscle a little bit more. And that one little change could be the only change that they need to start seeing progress. And going through your food's the same. Sometimes it's little tweaks, pulling something out, replacing it with one thing can change dramatically. If you're looking day to day, you won't see it as much or even week to week. But over the course of a year, that's what you really want to think about is over the course of the year and programming your body and your mind to be successful towards that, towards the long view, you know.
And Whitney, I know that you have a lot of clients that the challenge is meal prepping
Meal
and
prep.
figuring out a way to have foods at your disposal and to keep
That's
you on
the
track.
secret to success right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think, and it kind of flows into everything that we've been talking about is like, I think a lot of people overthink meal prep and have the idea that it has to be an entire day that you're spending in the kitchen with all the super fancy portioned out, containers. And if you can do that, like
Hell yeah.
fantastic. But I work with a lot of moms with small children and it's hard, and I don't meal prep that way. But, you know, what I try to tell my clients is like, we start small. If you batch cook a bunch of rice, you have meal prepped. If you just throw a bunch of chicken in the oven or on the grill, you have meal prep. If you make dinner and you just make leftovers for lunches for the next 2 to 3 days, like start there. And if meal prep looks like maybe you went to the store and picked up like a rotisserie chicken or some frozen turkey burgers or something like that with frozen vegetables, that is meal prep. It's essentially just making sure that you're prepared so that you don't catch yourself, starving in the middle of the day and then run out to McDonald's or, Taco Bell. And a lot of times what I have to do with my clients too, like we cut back a little bit on meals we're eating out and we incorporate those meal prep techniques and kind of build from there. And that makes it more bite sized and like attainable. And then once you start to get used to meal prepping, it gets a lot easier. I've been doing it for some time. We've all been doing it for some time. Like, I guarantee we could all set aside a couple hours on a Saturday or Sunday and also meal prep while doing other things and then kind of make sure that the cleaning and like it all gets done in a flow of things because again back to those habits, we have built these habits and you have to start somewhere, and the best way to do that is whatever works with your schedule and building from there.
And I think that's also helpful, Wit, is that you give different options because even there are some times I will prep on a Sunday. Yesterday, I did not. So today, I had to do something different, right? I had to use the method of, well, it's dinner time. I'm just going to throw a bunch of frozen turkey burgers on there. I'm throwing my chicken in the Instapot. Done. So that's done for now and tomorrow. Done. So there's all different ways that you can do it, and you don't have to do the same thing every week because if you have a busy week and something happens, have a plan B, have something else that you can shift to that you're still going to be prepared.
Yeah.
Exactly, because that's a good point too, is like life's gonna happen and it's gonna happen to all of us. Again, whether you have small kids, whether you have grown up kids, whether you don't have kids, like life happens and it's gonna catch you off guard. And the whole point of all of this is to be prepared and to know how to handle it so that you stay on track.
And doing the best
And
you can, for
yeah,
sure. The
yep,
best you can.
And I think a common thing that you hear about, meal prepping is that time, when are they going to have time to do it? When the reality is it actually saves you a lot of time if you're looking at throughout the week, because if you have it all made, and even if you have it separated in the portions, it went to that extent that it's in different containers and ready to go. This is going to save you a lot of time, in the next 3 days, because how much time does it take to figure out what you're going to eat? To go
Where
see
you
what you
gonna
have, and then you end up
lay it all
compromising because
out.
you don't have this or you don't have that. Then you're like, oh, I just have, this bag of whatever in the cabinet, and you grab that, and that's where you start to get derailed. And so time wise, it's very nice, even if you work at home. just to go and you have the meal ready, you can heat it up and boom, it's there. You'll see that this is a whole lot more convenient and works better into your schedule, but you have to kind of go through it and see that to understand it, so it's the fear of having to do this every Sunday that holds a lot of people back, when it actually they're going to find that it just makes things a whole lot easier for them.
Yeah. Well, and it's so true because like it's when I do have the like when I'm able to get everything portioned out and done for even like 3 or 4 days, I think to myself every time like, "Oh my god, this is so much easier to just grab it and put it and copy paste into my, nutrition section and like we're done."
It's so much more
Mhm.
stressful when I go in there and there's nothing there. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what am I
Right.
going to do? What am I going to grab?
Right. And so that's, why it's like when we take baby steps and then you start to see it and then you want to do that because, we have a little more time on the weekends or sometimes, the evenings. That's why I say when you have help or when you are like have a moment, just do it and then see how much easier it makes your week. Cause it's quicker than running up to a drive through,
Yes.
And I
it's a
think
lot easier than that.
one good thing you can do too, like, especially if you know you're coming into a season that you are going to be like extra busy, or you might have some things that are going to pop up, or just to have on hand in case something pops up. But take some of, like, fix extra and freeze some of it. That way, if you come into that where, oh my gosh, something just popped up and I don't have anything made, you do. It's in the freezer, just pull it out and there you go.
Yep. Yeah, that's a really good one too.
Sure.
Accomplished. At the end of the day, it feels really good when it was easy, number one, because everything was laid out. But then two, you finish the day and you're like, I just nailed my macros to the T, because it was all pre-measured and done. And that feeling of accomplishment will bring momentum for you, and it'll bring a good feeling going into the next day where you do it again. And now before you know it, progress is happening,
Yeah,
very fast.
for sure. And
So
I think the last one that we should touch on is like the scary of things that you may not have ever done before. Because a lot of people diet. A lot of people know how to cut calories and to push themselves and work harder. But I think part of what we do and helping people through is recovering their body after years of dieting and years of doing these things. And I know, like Calvin explains this really well, of understanding how to recover the body. And sometimes that means actually eating more, which is frightening for a lot of people when they just have been programmed to just cut calories. And if you make me eat more, a reverse diet is going to make me gain weight when I've been trying to lose weight.
yeah,
So,
it's a change of habits. That's what it is. It's having a different mindset going into it. And this is where you have to have some trust in your coach.
yes,
You have to understand that your patterns that you've been through and where you've maybe failed and succeeded before. But remember, your coach is dealing with clients on a daily basis, one after the other. And we've seen every possible scenario and we have the experience to be able to help you through it. So you have to kind of submit to that and be willing and open and be coachable. That's the best thing you can do going into having a coach is become coachable, and what that is just having trust and the openness to try new things that are different from the patterns that you had before. And this is where this is very important when you're talking calories and increasing, because truthfully, I would say at least 80% of the people that come to us for help are actually under eating, and overweight because of it, because of, metabolic, dysfunction and whatnot. So, but you can lose body fat by increasing calories in most cases, so it's having the trust to do it. But at the same time, it swings back to preparation and doing it right because it's a little different than a cut, so you have to do it systematically and do it in a way that we can track and we can keep the progress coming and seeing the data, to do it. But that's, I can say it's normal that people, especially 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, the retaliation that we got and trying to get people to increase calories it was crazy. The difference, people are getting it a little bit more these days, but they still kind of fight to it. And, we see it when we're watching the weight graphs, we see when things are off and we kind of know. that okay, they're going back and they're telling us they're eating, but they're not. But if that little bit of trust to do it and understand that we are going forward with this and follow through, be open with us and honest,
Yes.
that's where you'll see the progress and you'll feel better and have more energy. But what it's doing is setting you up for long-term weight loss, and the ability to build muscle again. It's very difficult to build muscle in a deficit, almost impossible, but nothing nearer than if you're actually at your maintenance calories or even above, you know? So a whole complete change of body composition that has to require some form of a reverse diet and rehabilitation phase. Without that, you're slowly going to digress, with your body composition. So the trust in it.
And it is, and I think people don't understand we've just been programmed, especially women that are, like, 40 and over, it's push harder, cut calories more, but when you start noticing those things aren't working, I always give the analogy, it's like you are working at a job and now there's stay after work. Now let's work weekends. And you just keep pushing, pushing, pushing. Eventually, you're going to want to leave that job. And your body's the same way. When you keep pushing and pushing and you're not seeing any change, and sometimes it gets worse, then you have to say, okay, maybe I need to look at giving my body a little relief. So, how about you don't have to come in late anymore? How about you don't have to work weekends anymore? How about you have a day off? How about you work half days? Eventually, till you get to the point of like, hey, you can have a whole week off. You go back to that job and you're going to do better. You're going to be able to handle it more. You're going to feel better. You're going to respond better. Your body's the same way. If you give it that recovery and that time off, you'll see that the changes that you make are just incredible.
Well, and it feels really good to feel strong.
Yep.
Because when you're in a cut, like,
It's
I
good.
don't care how strong you are, it goes. And there's nothing like, I mean, at least I notice when I go into that reverse, I hit a point where I'm like finally strong again, like
It's
like aggressive strong, and I'm like, oh, I'm here, I did it, and it feels really good, and it feels good to be able to do it, not feel overwhelmed by what's happening, which you're gonna have that in the cut, and having more energy. When you really look at it, if you're not going into a surplus, the whole goal of the reverse is, kind of maintaining that weight. So if you're eating 6, 7, 800 calories more, you may not be dropping, but if your weight's the same, it's like, are you kidding me?
has to mean, and it has to mean that your metabolism's speeding up. If you're the same weight
Exactly.
and you're eating more, something's going on.
Yeah.
But it's also what you want at the end. Do you wanna just keep looking like a skinnier version of yourself, or you wanna start seeing tone? Because
That
in
part
order to
too.
get tone, you need to create the muscle underneath that
Muscle.
fluff,
Yeah.
or otherwise you're just gonna be shriveled. Calvin explains it in a better way.
But yeah, that's the thing. And like what Whitney was saying, sometimes the scale stays the same during the time of the reverse, but it's really important to kind of understand what you pointed out about you're eating more. So when you're adding calories and these reverses, sometimes they're eating 1,000 plus more calories a day. So if your weight stayed the same that entire time, I can guarantee you 100% if you take your before picture when that reverse started to your present picture, you're going to see two completely different bodies.
Every time.
And you're gonna see leaner, less body fat, you're gonna see more muscle volume, and so what happens is the weight redistributes. So you're losing body fat, but that glycogen coming in from the carbs is filling muscles out. So this can show on a scale, it can show the same weight. We had one girl, Sydney, who
Mhm.
gained 9 pounds on a reverse. Now this would freak a lot of women out, right? But if you saw the pictures, the difference in her body, you would have thought she lost 20 pounds. You know, and that was so it's important to understand too the difference between good weight gain and bad weight gain. So bad weight gain is when you're gaining fat, obviously. Good weight gain is when you're actually gaining muscle, and possibly reducing fat. But even if your body fat stays the same from when you went into the cut, that's still a win because you didn't gain fat, but you may see an increase on the scale. So this is where the scale is not a great measuring tool. And reverse, it's more useful in a cut. We expect to see the weight drop in a cut, but in a reverse, it's not even. It's just data. That's all it is. So the pictures tell on how you feel, and how your clothes are fitting. So it's it's not something to be afraid of. And carbs is the other thing too. That's another area that I think some people still have a problem with, is that they think carbs are going to make them fat. And this is only the case if somebody is insulin resistant.
Yes.
And high stress can cause insulin resistance. So if you are gaining body fat and, keeping in mind that you're following the plan and you're sticking to it and you're seeing body fat accumulate, this is a sign that your body is insulin resistant, and that biofeedback gives us information so that we can address the problem, and this is something that can be fixed, but you may not know it until you go through that process, and then you get it fixed and you'll see your body responds the way that it should in that reverse. So it's a healing process. It's improving health and healing your body. So those are things you want to keep in mind when you reverse, and that it's more than just trying to improve your body composition. It's also healing you on the inside out. So we have to consider all those variables of what we want to achieve in that reverse. We want you to be healthier. We want your blood work to look much better when you get back up to your maintenance calories, in addition to a better appearance physically. So carbs are not the enemy. Carbs can be very thermogenic and help you lose weight, when used properly. But this is why there's no set plan for any one person, and why a coach is valuable to watch your data and see how your body responds, so that we can pivot and make those changes based on our knowledge and experience, where you know your body by certain things that you've done in the past, but you're still in this position. So you know that some of those things really didn't work so well, right? So you have to be open-minded to the change.
Absolutely. That's a great way to wrap this one up in a little bow. Thank you, Calvin Masters.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We are hoping this gave you some value and some insight. And if you wouldn't mind sharing a review, we would really appreciate it. And if there are any other questions or topic or comments, you could put them below. And until next time, see you later.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Master Your Metabolism. If you found value in today's episode, it would mean the world to us if you'd hit subscribe and share this episode with someone who could use a little guidance in their health journey. Ready to take the next step? Head over to www.mastersfitnesscoaching.com and you can book a free call right from the site, so we can chat about your goals and how we can help support you. Don't forget to join our Facebook group, where we're sharing coaching tips, support, and tricks to help keep you on track and continue making progress. You don't have to do this alone. We're here to walk with you every step of the way. Until next time, stay consistent, stay kind to yourself, and keep mastering your metabolism. Let's do this together.